Welcome back to From the South. Our correspondent in Havana, Laura Palmero, brings us a roundup of news from the Caribbean region.
Thanks for the contact. These are the most recent stories and news from Caribbean countries. And let's start with CARICOM leaders who reported about the application of the 25 in 5 program.
Mr. Joseph Cox, Assistant Secretary General, Trade and Economic Integration, spoke of the 25 in 5 plan while addressing a webinar that was focused on galvanizing multilateral action to prevent the health crisis from becoming a food crisis. The CARICOM Assistant Secretary General told participants that the region was achieving encouraging results with its food and nutrition security strategies, but that the COVID-19 pandemic was further highlighting the need to ensure affordable access to food. He pointed out that while there was a shortage of food in the region, there was a misalignment and supply on demand that was a result of supply chain disruptions.
The CARICOM region continues to achieve encouraging results over the years as it implements its food and nutrition efforts and interventions in all our member states, and we are absolutely committed to reducing the region's food import bill by at least 25% over the next 5 years. In other words, 25 in 5. The COVID-19 pandemic has further highlighted the need to ensure affordable access to food. This, in our case, has led to the development of the CARICOM COVID-19 Response Agri-Food Plan. The plan has been specifically designed to treat with effective access and the optimization of production. It further outlines the specific steps which must be taken within the CARICOM region to ensure that the health crisis does not become a food crisis. We have been lucky thus far, as the region has not had a shortage of food per se, but a temporary misalignment of supply and demand occasioned by supply chain disruptions.
Has been a priority.
In recent CARICOM virtual sessions, leaders have been working closely with Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency to implement projects to enhance climate resilience and preparedness in the region through the Natural Disaster Risk Management Program, the Model Safe School Program, and the Enhanced Emergency Response Program.
And as such, this program allows us to focus on the things that can be done to make the school environment more safe for our children, but also very importantly for our teachers who do a tremendous job and also have the responsibility day to day of the safety of our children. I think it's important to set the program within the context of the broader Safe Schools program, which is a flagship program of the CDMA Coordinating Unit, which is carried out also in collaboration with a range of partners, because we have a number of institutions who have an interest in school safety issues, including the Caribbean Development Bank, so we work collaboratively.
Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley informed about the resume of flights to Barbados and the reduce of taxes.
The Minister added that with regard to airlines, Barbados has an open skies approach as far as possible, with the market determining the capacity of the radio. Ms. Mottley made the comments while participating in CARICOM's Impact's 5-day virtual security conference under the theme Securing Our Community Within the Era of COVID-19 and Beyond. The Prime Minister said officials were continuously looking for a credible rapid PCR gold standard test that will allow to border processing of persons through the airport and seaport.
And these are the most recent stories and news from Caribbean countries. Let's go back with you in the studio.
Thank you, Laura. And Italian authorities reported that 600,000 people have lost their jobs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. According to figures from the National Institute of Statistics, from February to June, the unemployment rate increased by 8.8%. In addition, the data showed that since the 6th month of 2020, there's a fall in employment levels and a progressive expansion of the number of people looking for a job. June saw a 0.6% increase in unemployment compared to the previous month, with a higher incidence among young people, where the rate increased from 25.7% to 27.6%. The Italian Senate this Thursday voted to strip far-right former Interior Minister Matteo Salvini of his parliamentary immunity, thus paving the way for possible charges against him for refusing to allow 160 rescued migrants to dock in Italy last year.
I hereby announce the results of the roll call vote in the question of parliamentary immunity to deny authorization to proceed to the judging upon Article 96 of the Constitution of Senator Matteo Salvini in his role as temporary Minister of Interior. Votes in favor 141, votes against 149, abstain 1. The Senate does not approve. Upon Article 135, paragraph 8 of the regulation, given there was no absolute majority in the members of the Assembly, the conclusions of the parliamentary committee are to be rejected.
Several dozen tourist guides protested in the French capital on Thursday to demand government support in the face of the COVID-19 triggered economic crisis.
As most of my colleagues, I haven't had any revenue for several months now. We need a way to survive until the business goes back to normal. But given the situation in the US, it is obvious that the business won't come back to normal before summer of next year at earliest. So in the meantime, we need to survive.
The state has now given 18 billion euros to help tourism, to help the tourist industry. The guides have received nothing from this, and this is why we're requesting the government to help us to survive this year, and also to ask them to change the unemployment laws so that we're allowed a white year, as we like to call it. That is to say that this year will not be counted because people will be out of benefits very shortly, already running out.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson claimed on Thursday that the UK has achieved massive success in reducing the number of coronavirus-related deaths. The claims came after European analysis revealed that England has recorded the highest level of COVID-19 deaths in Europe.
This country has had a massive success now in reducing the numbers of those tragic deaths, and we've got it at the moment under some measure of control. The numbers of deaths are well down. But I have to tell you that we're looking at a resurgence of the virus in some other European countries. You can see what's been happening in the United States. And so it is absolutely vital as a country that we continue to keep our focus and our discipline, and that we don't delude ourselves that somehow we're out of the woods or that this is all over, because it isn't all over.
Ukrainian and Iranian authorities started official talks on Thursday over compensation for the families of passengers killed on board Ukraine International Airlines flight 737-800, which was accidentally downed by an Iranian missile earlier this year.
For these negotiations to begin, and I welcome the fact that they finally started. I expect the process isn't going to be easy, but we are working to achieve the goal, to deliver justice. And Ukraine's foreign ministry will do everything possible to achieve maximum results. This will help ease, at least partially, the pain and grief of the relatives that they have to endure for more than half a year already. Justice will prevail, no matter how much time and efforts will be needed for that.
In Bosnia and Herzegovina, the town of Mostar registered temperatures of 105 degrees Fahrenheit in the shade on Thursday, marking the hottest day of this year. Residents are used to the summer heat, but only a few dared to leave their homes and cool down in the local river. Mostar usually attracts thousands of visitors every year, but due to the coronavirus pandemic, streets and hotels remain empty. According to local media, the pandemic has devastated the local economy, as the majority of the population relies on tourism as their main source of income. Japanese officials in the Japanese capital, Tokyo, reported a new daily record of 367 new coronavirus cases this Thursday. Since the beginning of the outbreak in Japan, a total of over 12,000 positive cases have been confirmed in the capital region. Tokyo has about 300 health centres offering PCR diagnostic tests. To date, Japan has confirmed over 34,000 COVID-19 cases and a death toll of over 1,000. Speaking at a press conference in Beijing on Thursday, a spokesperson for China's Ministry of National Defense stressed that the United States should abandon its Cold War mentality and work to promote bilateral military ties with China.
It has long been a well-known fact that the United States takes an approach to the international rules in which it only uses those in its favor, but discards those not to their liking, and it plays up unilateral bullying hegemony under the banner of America First. Unlike the United States that has constantly pulled out from organizations and scrapped agreements, China joined the Arms Trade Treaty on the very day the US withdrew from the World Health Organization, fulfilling its international responsibilities and obligations with concrete actions. In the recent time, the US side has constantly expanded its military ties with Taiwan region, promoting arms sales to Taiwan, hyping up the US and Taiwan joint trainings, which has sent a seriously mistaken signal to the Democratic Progressive Party administration. We hope that the US side will abandon the Cold War mentality and zero-sum game mindset, but view the bilateral relations between the two countries and two armies of China and the United States rationally. Stop making negative comments and taking negative actions, but do some meaningful things to promote the relations between the two countries and two armies and safeguard the common interests of both sides.
US President Donald Trump on Thursday suggested delaying the 2020 presidential election, citing the coronavirus pandemic. Trump said delaying the election would allow people to vote properly, securely and safely, claiming that with universal mailing voting, 2020 would be the most accurate and fraudulent election in history and a great embarrassment to the US. The proposal comes as the president continues to lag behind in the polls, faced with his main rival, Joe Biden. Only Congress can change the election date, which is set by law on November 3rd. With Democrats ruling the lower house, that is highly unlikely to happen. Now we have more news coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. United Nations officials noted on Thursday that 60% of the population in Zimbabwe is projected to be food insecure by the end of the year, while calling for international support to prevent this potential humanitarian disaster. Zimbabwe continues to be subject to EU and US sanctions.
Where 60% of the population is projected to be food insecure by the end of the year, the World Food Programme today appealed for an additional $250 million. WFP said that the already severe hunger crisis is being exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. WFP is calling for international support to prevent what it calls a potential humanitarian catastrophe. A nationwide lockdown has led to massive joblessness in urban areas, while hunger in rural areas is on the rise, due to the return of now unemployed migrants to their villages and the absence of vital remittances.
The World Health Organization warned on Thursday that Africa is likely to have higher figures of coronavirus infections than the official numbers, as there is a lack of testing.
Need to get the testing up in African countries. We need to increase the testing, and we'll be convinced that we are seeing the correct situation when we see high rates of testing with a positivity at around 5%. This is the case now in relatively few countries, so there's still a lot of work to do to scale up the testing and appreciate the true situation. So conclusion, yes, there is some underestimation. We have seen that in a number of countries that have increased testing, but as we keep saying, we do not think there is a hugely underestimated situation, and we particularly don't think there are, thousands of people dying on the continent undetected. Testing has been one of the biggest challenges that African countries have faced because of the poor availability of testing kits on the global market. This is something we're working very hard with the Africa CDC and other partners to help our countries to have access to.
And the Director General of the World Health Organization has warned that spikes in coronavirus cases in a number of countries are being driven by young people.
People are at risk too. One of the challenges we face is convincing younger people of this risk. Evidence suggested that spikes of cases in some countries are being driven in part by younger people letting down their guard during the Northern Hemisphere summer. We have said it before, and we will say it again. Young people are not invincible. Young people can be infected. Young people can die. And young people can transmit the virus to others.
The NGO Women's Solidarity for Peace and Integral Development continues to work to tackle sexual violence in the Democratic Republic of the Congo while accompanying women, children and men who've been victims of abuse.
We are the first responders who meet the victims of sexual violence. For the month of January, we have received a total of 46 victims of sexual violence. They are given these antivirals. They are offered to morning after pill in order to avoid unwanted pregnancy. We are here to help the patients. When we receive them, we first listen to the problems. We look for solutions to the problems, identifying the root of the problem. We do this with patients. We are here to help to find them so they can decide themselves what to do. We are not here to tell them what they have to do. We document these cases in order to refer them to justice system, specifically the military justice, as they are competent authority to judge crimes committed by armed groups or governmental forces. They are then obligated as a jurisdiction to document and investigate these human rights violations. This hearing also have an educational role. They send a strong signal not to be presumed perpetrators, but also to reassure the population, stating that justice is taking place, it is doing its job, renewing the confidence.
And we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesoenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For Teleso English, I'm Katrina Goss, and thank you for watching.